Good evening and welcome to episode 12 of Standing Tall with Shennette Sparks. On this video blog, I'll talk about how to deal with lupus in pregnancy. I've had a lot of people ask me over the last couple years, what happens to people who have lupus, who are pregnant? And also I have people who've asked me different questions about, do your children do they end up with lupus? How does lupus affect your baby? How does lupus affect mothers? So I just want to spend this time today answering those questions. Lupus in pregnancy is a very complicated and very tough topic to talk about. In the 1970s, most doctors advised anyone who was diagnosed with lupus to not even have children. They didn't know what to do with the complications. They didn't really have a lot of answers when it comes to whether you stop your medications, whether to continue the medications. Well, luckily, in recent years, a lot of doctors have moved to a progressive, more modern mindset when it comes to lupus and pregnancy, and actually allowing women who are pregnant with lupus to conceive and continue to go through that pregnancy. However, there are a lot of risks that women with lupus face when pregnant. The 5 main risks, and I'll talk about a lot of different things in this video, but they all comprise of basically 5 major risk factors that a woman who is pregnant who has lupus, they kind of deal with. And when I research is, what I realize is most women who have pregnancy have most complications, have any types of complications. So you have women who don't have lupus who can have these same complications as well. So it's just a very interesting dynamic in understanding how much a woman's body changes while they're pregnant, thus making it a different topic, or a sore topic when you're dealing with a chronic illness. Like I said before, a lot of women were advised previously not to conceive kids, and some are, even when they do conceive, are advised to have abortions, and that's more likely because how they feel the mother will be able to live throughout the pregnancy. So I just like to share that point with you. Like I stated before, there are 5 main risks that women with lupus have while pregnant. One is miscarriage. 1 out of 5 women who live with lupus experience some type of miscarriage. You have a lot of women who have lupus who have a lot of other diseases that compound with lupus, which causes them very unlikely to be able to carry a baby. Another one of the risks that a mother with lupus face is having a baby preterm, which means that a baby is not fully developed, or the baby doesn't last until 37 weeks or 39 weeks like most doctors hope. And so what that means, the baby is delivered early, a mother start having contractions, and it could be for various reasons, different complications. Doctors really don't know, but that's one of the high risks. Actually, 1 out of 3 mothers with lupus actually have their baby preterm before 37 weeks. And with that leads to other complications like babies being born with growth retardations and a lot of abnormal hearts, a lot of things that can cause the baby then to have problems after they're born. Another issue that faces a lot of mothers with lupus is hypertension, which is just your normal high blood pressure. 20% of mothers with lupus have this, and this can lead to a host of other problems like preeclampsia, which is more serious, and things which force you to go to hospital. They are encouraged to see a high-risk doctor. And like for me, during my pregnancy, I saw two specialists. I saw my normal OBGYN, and then I saw another doctor, and their responsibility was every week they would not only measure me, my weight, my blood sugar, but they also would measure the weight of my baby, the water around my placenta, to make sure that she was growing on the right track, but also to make sure that I didn't have any hypertension that was affecting her development of her spinal cord and her brain. So it's very important for anyone who's battling with any disease, or anyone who's pregnant for one, to make sure that you are under some type of care, so we can reduce the amount of infant deaths, period, in the United States, but also so we can make sure our children grow up to be as healthy as they can be. We have to make sure we take care of ourselves as mothers. So we have to get checked. We have to make sure that we're eating the right things, we're consuming enough water, and to make sure we're taking our prenatal vitamins. According to the Johns Hopkins Medical Library, about 30% of women with lupus actually experience a lupus flare during the time of pregnancy. And what this means is that the disease is activity increases higher than your normal rate. And with lupus, that's what makes it very hard to kind of understand, diagnose, and even track, because it's really only it's criteria that a doctor basically marks off to say if you have 4 out of 11 that you have lupus. So when they're assessing if you have a flare or not, through blood work, but also through seeing if the different criteria, if you meet more of the criteria during that time. So you have a lot of women who are pregnant with lupus that their body do begin to flare. And the Johns Hopkins Medical Library says it could be for several different reasons. Like I stated earlier, just normal pregnancy and changes in a woman's body causes things to be different. So also with hormonal changes, we already know that leads to lupus flare and lupus irregularities. So we just have to be more careful, and I encourage anyone who's living with lupus and pregnant to make sure that you're being monitored by a doctor. Mothers with lupus are at very high risk, not only for, like I said, for a lupus flare, but you are also at risk for diabetes. You're at risk for urinary tract infections, because our body, which is used to taking things like steroids at that time when you're going through a pregnancy, is a lot weaker. So we have to make sure we're protecting ourselves so we can be healthy and we'll be able to carry our child full term. Another major complication that a lot of women with lupus face when they're pregnant is preeclampsia. Actually, 1 out of 5 women with lupus will have some battle with preeclampsia. And what that means is that you have out of nowhere your blood pressure just spikes up, and you can have swelling of the feet, swelling of the hands, you might be leaking fluids, your heart rate might be irregular, and at that time they really suggest that you get into a hospital. When I was pregnant with my daughter, I experienced a lot of different complications with lupus. I had swelling of my feet, my hands. I had a battle with preeclampsia. One day in Jacksonville, I was at a Hooters. My family came up, and anybody know me, I love chicken wings. We were there and we were eating wings, and I started to tell my mom that I really wasn't feeling well, that I needed to go to the restroom. And on my way to the restroom, I passed out. And when I woke up, people were saying she needs to go to the hospital, she needs to go to the hospital. And my husband and my brother were carrying me out to the car, and they took me to Baptist downtown. And they ran a host of tests. They put the strap around my belly to test my baby's heart. They wanted to monitor my contractions. They gave me IV prednisone and a couple other medicines to just get my stomach and everything under control. And after 3 days, I was released, and I had no more complications. But it was just scary being a mother, and not knowing what's going on out of nowhere, just having to deal with it. So I just want to encourage anyone who's thinking about being pregnant or who is pregnant with lupus that you can make it through, but you have to make sure that you're eating right, make sure that you're drinking the right amount of water, make sure that you're taking your prenatal vitamins, make sure you add some type of walking or some type of muscle strengthening exercising to your weekly routine if you want to be able to live and to hold your baby long term. For me, lupus in pregnancy was one of the most toughest times that I had to battle when I lived with lupus. As you can see, the lesions flared up all over my skin. I had 50 all over my body. I was also forced to stop breastfeeding because of lesions all over my breast, and just didn't want my baby to get affected. So after 3 months, I had to stop breastfeeding, and I was able to start back other lupus medicines that I was not allowed to take while I was breastfeeding and also carrying my baby. But I was greatly blessed, and me and my husband was greatly blessed because our daughter, as you can see on this picture here, she was born without any sign of lupus, and actually 3% of babies to mothers with lupus have a rare disease called neonatal lupus, where they form blood clots, where they form rashes, and they also can have abnormal hearts that can force them to have pacemakers all their life. And we were blessed that our daughter was born with nothing. She didn't have any weight problems. Her brain developed fine, and everything. Even now, she'll be 2 years old at the end of this month, and she's almost the size of a 3-year-old. And those some of the things that they monitor when for a child to a mother with lupus, just constantly in their first year of development, making sure that their brain, their limbs, and everything develops at a normal rate. So we're blessed to say that our daughter had no complications and still is doing fine. So I would just like to take this time out to encourage anyone who's living with lupus, who would like to get pregnant, to make sure you discuss it over with your doctor first, to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Because like I stated before, the more healthier we are as mothers, as parents, the more healthier that we can teach our kids to be, and more healthier they can raise their kids to be. And then also so we can put a stop to a lot of diseases that are spreading around just because that we're not doing the things to take care of ourselves. So I would like to encourage you this week to be bold, to be beautiful, but to be who you were created to be. God bless you, and have a great day.